Hey, welcome everyone to the John Gradina Classroom. We have a special guest today. His name is Christopher Hannon. He comes from Maine. He is a longtime East Sider, as we would say, of the
Hey, East
Mississippi,
Coast.
right? East Coast, living by the sea. And I met Christopher just either online or through friends. To be honest,
Yeah, I did a live video with Tanner, and I think he reached out from
that's
there. And then we did our last call where I was able to talk with your students, which was mind blowing.
it was
Love
a
that.
month. It was a year ago. We did it in May. So Christopher came on to one of my leadership groups that I have in my school, and he just spit out words of wisdom. And I was blown away by what he offers to people. He's just an amazing young man. He is so wise for his age. And we'll get into his story of what trials and tribulations he went through to get to this point in his life where he's just hitting his stride up and hitting his peak in his life. And I know he's going to do a lot of great things. He owns a company called Piece of the Sea, which just wonderful jewelry that he makes, and also clothing line as well.
Hmm.
He is just a hardworking individual. I'll put it that way. He's a constant learner, always reading, always researching, always wanting to be a top performer. And I don't steal all his knowledge that he's gained, and we'll learn that today as we go through this show. So Christopher Hannon, thanks for being on today.
Hey, much appreciated, John. All the kind words. I'm very excited and I'm very grateful that you asked me to come back on and share with your audience. I think it's going to be a really exciting experience for myself, but I'm hopefully able to use my experience to just help others get something out of this, because I think it's very valuable to go through things and then share them with others. So I'm very excited to do this.
Well, I tell you what, my man, I'm excited to be here too. There's no better opportunity for people to learn on the John Gradina Classroom than someone like you. So to have you here tonight is just a great opportunity for everyone to hear. So let's get started. Let's go back to the beginning a little bit. Let's go back to the roots. So let's talk about maybe your childhood into high school. Okay.
Yeah, sounds good. So a brief overview of kind of what happened is my childhood was very, it was actually pretty good. Grew up in a town called Gorham, Maine. Middle class family. My mom stayed at home. My dad worked as a police officer for as long as I can remember. He still works in the force. He works in the drug enforcement agency, but they lived together. It was great. Middle class. Went to a school. Had friends. Had neighbors. Would hang out. PlayStation. All the little things. We didn't grow up in a bad way. Things were pretty decent. I won't say that they were perfect. They were inside the household. My dad and I relationship was very rocky. Other things, but then my parents, when they divorced in 2011, which began with being picked up at a date with my seventh grade girlfriend. My dad picked me up, normal day, March. He pulled up. I could tell something was wrong, and he handed me the wedding ring, my mom's wedding ring, and said, "Here, your mom wants a divorce, and you need to get us back together." He needed to tell her that, don't get a divorce.
Yeah.
And so that is a pretty good encapsulation of my position that I found myself in. I was 13, turning 14, and all of a sudden life is upended. Ended up moving from 2011 to 2014 about 17 different times. I attended 5 different high schools.
Wow.
5 school changes. It was back and forth. It was a whole mess. So it averaged to be about a new home or a new place I was staying at every 3 months or so. And yeah, it was very tumultuous. It was not easy. It was not a compassionate divorce. It was not 2 adults handling things. It was like a volcano and a tornado just came together in the middle of a thunderstorm. Like it was very rough. And so throughout those adjustments, yeah, definitely struggled a lot. There were times when I would go to school, come home, go right to work at a restaurant. I was a busser, dishes, doing really whatever when I was younger. It's about 15, 16, 17, around this age. And I mean, I come back and sometimes the oil will be out in November. And, I take a cold shower, go to bed, couldn't sleep. I was insomniac. It was a tough time for those periods, Um, some of there's a lot to unpack there. So if there's specifics you want me to go into, I can for sure.
Now,
But
Christopher,
I'll tell you,
yeah, go ahead. Go
yeah.
ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, but through from 2015 until about 2019, things kind of settled down. We got to my mom got to one house. We were able to afford to stay there. And so my mom is actually still there to this day, which is like shocking. It's like 7 years later, still at
Yeah.
the same place. It's safe. It's all the things are taken care of. We're not having to get food boxes anymore. We're not having to do, you know, dig through the couch to get coins to go put 70 cents in my gas tank to get to work. Like, did the whole thing. It was not fun, you know. Trying to be a man at 14, it's not a great position, especially in hindsight. However, here's where the upside is I think it taught me a lot, and it really forged me into a very headstrong, tough, faithful, determined individual. And there's so many lessons that I always put it this way. If I could have gone back in the moment and had a big red button, I could just smack it. Things would go to normal, middle class, whatever, parents together. I would have pressed it in the moment. But looking back on it now from where I sit, there's no chance that I would want to change anything for what it was, because those circumstances really developed, almost galvanized me, into the fire, into the water, into the fire, into the water. All of a sudden I'm strong. So that really forged a lot of my ambitions from 8th grade until high school and then beyond. So yeah, that was kind of my early childhood in a nutshell. Through high school was not easy. Got a little bit better when I got into college, but then I decided to leave and pursue entrepreneurship. So
Yeah. No, I mean, man, what's beautiful about your story, and I use that word on purpose because you looked at the positive through the experience. So the question I'm going to ask is, when was your mind shift? When did you have that mindset that, you know what, I've been through hell. I lived in 5 different places or 5 different schools, all these different places, scraping for food, just trying to get a hot shower once in a while. When was there a specific moment that you're like, you know what, I don't want to live like this? Was there a specific moment that you had, or did someone come into your life that helped you on this path that you're on now?
oh man, yeah, no, it definitely I have to give most of the credit to other people, because there were certain mentors that came into my life at just the right time. That there were plenty of moments where I was like, I was so sick of living that way. I was so sick of it. I was so angry. I was just a ball of anger, couldn't sleep, trying as hard as I can. Like, I feel like a bunch of people in the audience have been in this place where you feel like you're just literally going as hard as you can and nothing will give. You won't catch a break. So that's kind of where I was at mentally. But luckily, there's several people along the way. As bad as it got, my mom has always been huge on making sure that staying optimistic. Things are never going to be the best, but as long as we're happy, healthy, we have people together. She's always been the one that has geared my mind towards being grateful and thankful and not hindering on things. So she deserves tons of credit for being there mentally for us, because otherwise I'd be a basket case more than I already am. But and then I had a school counselor, a stepfather in my life for a short amount of time, and then the CEO of a company I was involved with when I was 17. That was kind of probably maybe one of the biggest shifts from I wasn't sure where I was going to go to I got introduced to business entrepreneurship and really just this obsession that I developed with independent thinking and just sort of developing myself. That was probably, that might be one of the key moments, was when I got to talk with this man who owned a company worth $500 million.
Wow.
Talking to me personally, 17, like, there's hundreds of people trying to talk to this man. He came up to me in the crowd and like talked with me and challenged me to read How to Win Friends and Influence People. He said 3 times in 30 days, man. I didn't care about anything else. I was getting that done. I didn't even have the money to go buy the book right then. I found the PDF, pirated it, read it twice on my laptop. And then I went and bought the book, and I still have the book. It's sitting right here. And man, I even brought it back to another one, and he wrote a little message and a little sign that he said, "I'm so proud you chose to learn the secret of millionaires. This book will guide you to become a true gentleman to all around you." And that was just sort of the beginning. That was just sort of the beginning of me wanting to do a lot of negative things to get out of where I was, to changing my ways and sort of going down this path, which is much better, much better.
Well, I love these stories because experiences define kind of the path that people go on. So some people could find this experience that you had growing up and be like, you know what? I was dealt a bad card. My parents got divorced. Relationships suck. Everything in my life is terrible. It's crumbling down. I have anxiety. I can't sleep. Like, this is awful. Like, I don't want to live like this anymore. So you could have literally just been using drugs, drinking alcohol, getting really heavy, deep into that.
I was this close to doing all that stuff.
And when the point did you say, you know what, I'm not going down that path? Was it 17, 18, somewhere in there?
Yeah. So, another couple of good influences were my cousins. My cousins never drank or smoked, and they kind of like talked down on that stuff. And so I never really saw the mass appeal. So I think that was probably the one thing that was keeping me from doing that. But yeah, it was that interaction. I got on these products. They helped me a lot. They fixed my sleep, which was huge. My sleep was junk, which, man, if you've experienced insomnia, I feel for you. It's horrible.
Christopher, what did you use that helped? Because some people might have insomnia and like, man, I need something that helps. What did you use? Do you remember the product, or what do you use now? Maybe
I still use it. I still use it and sell it very low key. I'm not really involved in the business, but people want to get connected, they can definitely reach out. But it's just called Thrive. It's by Lavelle. It's a 3-step system, super simple, fills in your nutritional gaps while you're trying to actually do your best to be healthy outside of that. But it's premium supplements. And I couldn't even tell you why it helps me, but all of a sudden I was not having to take 35 milligrams of melatonin to try and knock out for the night. I mean, I was taking handfuls, dude.
Wow.
I would get home from work, have kitchen nightmares, man. It was like and then I wake up, have a bunch of caffeine, and then I'd have caffeine at work. And it was just like this awful cycle. So that got me on the products, and I really liked them. They really helped me. And then my mom talked about the business opportunity, and I'm like, finally, dude, I see a light.
Yeah.
I see a light. I see a way to get out of this BS.
Yeah.
And there's, we're all dealt a bad hand. And I just, when I saw what I needed to see in order to get ahead, I do not care what it takes to get there. I do not care. I do not care if it takes me eating crap for a decade. I really don't, because I see where I am going, and whether or not anybody else can, that's up to you. But you have to have the faith and persistence to keep going.
So when did the vision happen? You talked about that after, you got the book, you met the CEO, you have the light of hope. And then you have this vision of like, hey, I want to build my company. When was that seed planted?
Yeah. So, my company came several years later, and here's something that's important for people to know, is that a lot of times your ultimate goal is like the top of the pyramid. It's you pin it. That's where you want to go. That's like, I want a family. I want to be doing this. This is my body. This is how I want to live my life. It's principles, and it's your why for existing. It's how am I going to be able to best serve people? That should not change no matter how hard it gets. What can change is your methodology. The method, if you were forced to walk across the room, I was actually at a seminar and they had us do this. Walk across the room, but no two people can walk across it the same way. You have to go from point A to point B, but you have to do it in a unique way. So one person walks, one person runs, one person jogs, one person walks backwards, one does the worm, one zigzags. 300 people later, people are still getting to point B, because what matters is not the method, it's the ambition and it's the intent. The intent matters. So what I realized when I got that opportunity is that it put clarity into my brain about how I could get to where I wanted to go. I knew I did not want to go get food boxes anymore from the town.
Yeah.
I knew I did, excuse me, I hated having $13 to go in for like 2 weeks to do something. Like I really just, I did not like existing. Like I felt like I had somebody's thumb on me and I couldn't move even if I wanted to. So I saw when I had the steps in that particular business, that compensation plan, I just said, okay, this is what I can do to get there. It was a plan. It was A, B, C, and I got there. So that was like the beginning.
So how old are you right now?
I just turned 24 in April, the end of April.
Okay. I want to give people context. All right. So you have this epiphany, you have these strategies, you've been grinding on it for a while. And the one thing I wanted everyone to hear is you wanted more than anything freedom. No, I'm being honest when I say it, because people need to understand what, to me, and this is my definition, but freedom is the choice to do things on your terms. But that's, I can make it,
100%.
I can make it that simple, right? So you learned that you had no freedom when you were in your childhood and teens, that you had to survive. It was a survival method, basically.
Straight survival mode for sure.
But through that survival method and experiences you had, it made you aware of what you didn't want, which was great. And that's why I said that was the great experience. But then the second part you had is you had support. You said your mom, you said your cousins, the CEO, you had some things in your life that were a strong foundation. So that propelled you to stay away from drugs and stay on a somewhat straight and narrow path. And then all of a sudden that fire, I always love this about people. It doesn't happen to everybody. I'm going to be honest, it doesn't happen to a lot of people. There's something inside of you that just started burning with desire. And you wanted that freedom to say, you know what, I can take my life into control and I could control my destiny if I work hard with the vision I want. So let's talk about your company, the Piece of the Sea, and let's talk about how you transitioned from those experiences to now becoming very successful in what you're doing.
Yeah. So the way that I like to describe, again, methodologies, it's all about finding broad truth. It's about finding the things that work. It's about understanding what'd you say? Basically knowing what to do. It applies to every situation. So
Yeah.
I exited that business in 2019. It just was my time to move on from that. I had learned what I needed to learn. My spirit said, okay, it's time to shift. And so I went to this place where I was like, all right, I chose to leave nursing school 3 years in to pursue entrepreneurship. I just stopped the business that I thought was going to be the thing. Now I'm in this middle place where I'm like, damn, I am a 21-year-old loser working for minimum wage at Planet Fitness. What the heck have I done? And I was in a very dark place. All of a sudden, I just started kind of going back to this old hobby I had. I said, you know what? I've been so focused on the technicals, sort of like, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this, check marks, check mark, check marks. That's naturally how I'm more lean. I almost get too intense with things. So I started to make jewelry again as a creative thing. I just sea glass, went to Michael's, got some stuff, and then I was just making it because I thought it was fun. It was a creative outlet.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I have a much better following on like social media. Not like I'm not a celebrity or anything, but I have couple thousand people have followed me, and so people were seeing it and they wanted to buy it. And so I was just selling it as a craft, kind of supplementing income. And then I just really started to just like catch the vision where I said, okay, it's one thing to sell products, but it's a whole different other thing to build a brand. And building a brand is where things are very important, because think about it. If Nike could burn down tomorrow, all their products went to zero products, nothing. They could throw a check mark on a Walmart t-shirt and sell that for $50.
Yeah.
Because the brand is so important. And so I thought about, okay, I think I might have something here. People obviously like what I'm doing. They think it's unique. And then I started to kind of think about how was I able to actually wrap up my mission for life, which is to kind of encourage people to be themselves and be the best version of themselves. And that sounds so corny, but I like to do it with some intensity and passion. Like, I like to say it's time. Sometimes you got to cut the head off a giant. Like you got to go for the throat. You got to go for the jugular. And so I feel like we live in a culture where, oh, don't be too loud. Don't rock the boat. Don't offend somebody. And I'm not an offensive person, but I'm just saying people don't like the loud confidence. They don't like confidence because it reflects badly on them. So I was like, okay, how can I build a brand where I'm able to not only sell products, but I can wrap up the individuality and being unique and being beautiful, being broke into beautiful. Sea glass. Sea glass starts off as a shard of glass somebody threw overboard, or it was from a dump. It was a bottle or a plate or something. Through decades of being washed at the bottom of the sea by sand, storms, lightning, waves, gravel, rocks, all of a sudden this shard of glass nobody would go near turns weathered, and it sort of rounds itself out, and all of a sudden it comes out and it's this brilliant, like, man, it's so pretty. It's a foggy piece of glass with soft edges that catches the light and just glows. It glows like no crystal you've ever seen, like nothing else. So I said that's a very good metaphor for people. Broken to beautiful. It's your turn. It's your turn to go break and then come out better. And so my brand, Piece of the Sea, that's sort of what I represent. That's sort of how I want all of my branding, my company. I want my products to be top notch. I want my customers to be blown away with my experience. It doesn't matter. That's all that matters, because it's a way to communicate my purpose in life. Again, I pinned that vision up for my life up here, and the methodology doesn't matter. I can do it a million different ways. Podcasting is a great way to fulfill your methodology or your vision. That's just another way to provide value to people. So that's kind of how my business started. Just started something small. And then I said, holy crap, let me scale this, because I like making money. I've always been good at selling things. And yeah, just kind of grew it. And I started learning about branding and backend and LLCs and legal and all that stuff. So,
well, it's so poetic of how you looked at that piece of glass and how you said it was from broken to beautiful. And almost feel that's symbolic of your life. You went from being broken in many different ways that we learned today. And then you're like, you know what? I'm done. I'm just done living this way. I'm creative. I have a passion to fulfill. I love to encourage others. I like to make high quality things. And I've seen your products on your website. They're amazing. And just the box that they come in, you have every little detail down because it matters to you. And before we started our conversation, we were talking about my book, about how, you didn't find any errors.
None.
That's what it's about, man. Like, people have to understand that you have a standard and you stick to it. That's what it's about, right? So your vision, Christopher, is to have high quality product, encourage people from being broken to beautiful, make people look better, right? On what on a daily basis.
They feel more confident, man. When you got some fresh jewelry on, you feel great, and you give your gift more. You go and you might have more lively conversations. Like, it all comes back to, like, everything supplements the ultimate desire of most people, which is basically they want to feel more fulfilled. They want to feel comfortable in their skin, and they want to feel like they mean something. And so if I can introduce them to my maybe even way of thinking, you might say, I almost distill how I think into my brand. If I can introduce somebody to my way of thinking through my brand, that's the purpose. Like, the money is good, but like at the end of the day, listen, I can have there's even studies, 75K, the happiness of having money kind of drops off statistically. So it's like, you got to have enough because listen, I came from having no money. I wasn't happy. Trust me, that shit sucked. So, excuse my language, but that sucked. Right, that stunk. Being able to take care of yourself is important, but giving your gift is ultimately fulfilling. I mean, you could be getting $500 a day and be set. That's more than, I don't know, that's like $1 million a year, I think. $500 a day, something like that.
You know what I love about this is you walked perfectly into my brand that I'm building too, and it literally is exhaust your gifts. That's what it is. Like, I've learned that, because like you have learned, what you're creating and what you're doing with encouraging with your business is you are exhausting your gifts, right? To become the best person that Christopher Hannon can be for you, your future family, for your community, and for who you're repping by wearing your jewelry, right?
Mm-hmm.
So by what you do, what you produce is just an extension of who you are. And when you do that and you have purpose and vision, and you say, you know what, when I give people this, or they buy this from me, or they give it to a gift for somebody, that's a reflection of who I am. And I want them to feel encouraged and beautiful, because they are. And they got to have hope in their life, and they have to have confidence in what they're doing. So I just love everything about what you're doing. And this is a perfect stopping point for a recess. Okay. So now we're going to go outside the classroom, walk outside. We need a little physical activity, shooting some hoops out in the playground. So I'm gonna ask some just basic questions. You could just have one word responses, or if you want to elaborate, you can. So the first one is, who was your favorite teacher?
Man, okay, so it's probably a tie between two. One of them's not necessarily a teacher, one of them is. My teacher, Miss Pierce, really, she was an English teacher in my 11th grade. She really encouraged me to apply to something called Outward Bound, and she really talked with me. She was a believer. She knew my home life wasn't very good. She was just there for me. She was very supportive. It was just another person that encouraged me, man. When I talk about I pour into other people and I want to pour into people, I wasn't always like this. And it took a lot of other people to pour into me selflessly for me to be able to grow into who I am, where I'm strong enough to actually go and give it to other people. And so she really deserves a lot of respect. Miss Pierce, she actually might live over near you, I think, in Ohio or something.
Really?
She moved a while ago. Yeah, she's a teacher. I don't know what she's doing. I should connect with her.
Yeah.
And then my guidance counselor, Mr. LeVerrier, man. When I was angry and I didn't have really any strong role models in my life, real strong male, older role models, man, he was just a really great person to talk to. I actually saw him at the gym. He's 77, man. He's jacked.
Really?
I mean, he's jacked, man. And I just saw him for the first time since probably, man, forever ago, like 4 years ago. And we talked, and he was just like, I'm very proud of you. And I said, you know what? I owe you a lot of gratitude. Like, you got to understand, a lot of times I wanted to do some bad things, and you spoke sense into me. So those two really deserve a lot of respect for a period of my life where I didn't even like high school really that much. I thought this stuff was too easy, and I really didn't care for the social. So plus my home life was such a wreck. I didn't really care.
And I'm gonna be honest, a lot of kids don't like school, and for many reasons. I'm not gonna go into it, but I would recommend for everyone who's listening, go and just say thank you to somebody who helped you. It doesn't have to be an educator.
Definitely.
But if you have a grateful heart for someone who supported you in tough times, they'll never know unless you just reach out to them. So if you can do that today, I highly recommend doing that, because it may change their life. This is legit what I'm saying. They may be in a bad spot themselves. And if you reciprocate that gratitude that they gave you with support, it'll go a long way. Okay.
Can I share a real quick one?
Yeah.
So I had real quick story. So last May, about probably around the time, actually the day after we first talked in your leadership class, I went to Austin, Texas to visit my buddy. He's a lieutenant in the Army out Fort Hood. So I went there anyway, coming back, sitting in the airport, getting a burger for $50 at the airport. Jeez. But yeah, no, it wasn't $50. It was like 17, but still. Anyway, I just struck up conversation with this random woman, and I don't even really necessarily remember the conversation that much. I think I told her that she should really go for things. Like, she was telling me whatever, and I was like really trying to just like encourage her. I get a message not too long ago on Facebook, and you know, I just, like everybody else, I struggle, and so I've been fighting a rut. I'm not in a rut, but I'm fighting to not slip into a rut. And I got this message where she was just posted on my thing, and she was like, what you didn't realize is that I was like raped that day before by my friend.
My goodness. Jeez.
And she left this long message, and man, I felt struck to my core, man. I was like, dude, like even right now, I'm just like, man, it wakes you up. And so I had no idea. And so when you do go and share that with somebody, it put a battery in my back saying, you know what, devil, get out of my head. I rebuke you. Like, listen, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to let you put up strongholds in my mind. I'm not letting you do this. I'm going to go and share my even if I feel insignificant, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to do what I know is right, even if I don't feel it any reward or reciprocation. It doesn't matter, because I don't know that my conversation at the bar with this woman, what she said, it saved her life, which I was like,
Jeez.
holy crap.
Yeah.
I had no clue. All I was, man. So definitely tell somebody you appreciate them, because you would never know. Never know.
Well, okay. You have a story. I have a story. I know we're in a tangent, but this is important, and I'm gonna tell
This
you
is
why.
important stuff.
It is. There's a guy who works maintenance, custodial at my building, and he was gone for a couple of weeks. I didn't see him. I talked to the other custodian, and she's like, I don't know where he is. So we were worried. So then he comes in finally. I see him for the first day, and he's like, I almost died, John. And I was like, are you kidding me? I knew something was wrong. And he goes, dude, I had whatever. He had an infection from his kidneys, and it was bad. He passed out. His girlfriend came, and they called the ambulance. So then he said something to me like, hey, I've been listening to your podcast. I've been following you. I know we talked about you're Mr. Fitness and drinking more water. You told me, and how important it is for hydration and yada, 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 you know? And then he goes, dude, you're helping me save my life and turn it around. I was like, what? I mean, we have very minor conversations, just like you did with the girl at the bar. We don't know how important it is to just listen and to share wisdom with someone from our life. It doesn't have to be profound, but if we would just be better listeners and truly just support people, we have no idea where they're at in their life. So you, as a game changer for that woman a year ago, and for me, just offering listening and some advice, goes a lot longer than we ever could imagine. And what we're doing now, just on this podcast, is someone may listen to this 5 years down the road and be like, man, I lived like Christopher too. When I was growing up, my parents got divorced, and now he's the CEO of his company, and he's just living this fulfilled life, and he loves helping people, and from who are broken to now beautiful. That could be me. You planted the seed today. That could happen 5 years from now, 10 years from now. That's powerful. That's extremely powerful. And people need to understand that. Don't underestimate who you are, because you come from the Father, and he has given you gifts to exhaust on this earth. Whether you think it's minuscule or not, you don't decide the ripple effect it has on people. You don't decide that. Okay.
Amen.
All right. Give me a book or a mentor in your life.
Oh, see, I'm a big nerd. I'm a big fat nerd. So it's hard to give one book, but I will say for men, one book that I just finished that was insane, brought so much clarity to my life as far as like sorting out a bunch of stuff. The Way of the Superior Man, David Deida, Deida, I believe. Yeah, Deida. Yeah,
okay.
Got it. That book, I just finished it. That has brought me a lot of perspective. If you want something more basic, really to like reclaim your thought process and develop yourself, you can't go wrong with Think and Grow Rich or Outwitting the Devil. How to Win Friends and Influence People. Man, The Magic of Thinking Big. One of the best books if you really want to kind of go in the more like healing, deeper side. The Untethered Soul is really great. I've read that several times. I read it usually once a year, and it's funny to see the notes that I compare over the years in the margins.
Yeah.
See what younger Christopher was thinking at the time. It's kind of funny.
Well, that, you know what, I won't go on my reading that I do in books, but it is nice to go back to books that you leave margins and little notes, because it's amazing your transformation of growth with wisdom that you have and the healing or just knowledge you've gained. So that's really nice piece that I think people should do, is reread a book and look at what you've written in there.
Man, if you don't read your book, listen, if you can't go up to a whiteboard, teach it, you don't know it, and you need to go read it again. The biggest mistake I feel like a lot of people make, I had this friend in Dallas I went to in February. That's a whole, I guess maybe we'll share that for a different segment of the thing. I think I could dive into that. That'd be so helpful. But I forced this kid to sit down, read a chapter of a book. this is an adult man. I mean, he's not a kid. He's like 28, and I was at his house, and I
Okay.
sat
Sit
this man down
down.
and I know straight up. I said, "You need to
Sit down.
sit down and read this freaking book right now, and you can't say no to me."
Which book
This
was
man's
it?
bigger than me. This man's way bigger than me, and I
It's all
was
right.
telling him like a toddler,
It's all right.
and it
Power of
was it
influence.
100%. And I made him do the exercise. Man started crying, and I'm not making fun of
No,
him
no,
either.
no. It's not about no.
It was a profound moment of his realization that his self-talk was so, it was something I saw, so toxic, but he did the exercise, and I made him get his paper and his pen, and it was friggin' painful to get him to do it. But I said, write down every thought you have for a minute, for 3 minutes. I said, every thought comes ahead. 90% of it is you're stupid, you're fat, you're lazy, you suck, you're a loser. And I was like, dude, look at this. I was like, look at this. This is what you're doing to yourself all the time. If somebody walked in and started talking to me that way, what would you say to that person? You'd make them leave. You'd be like, that's not true. Go.
Yeah. Yeah. You know
So
what?
doing the exercises in the book is important.
Which book is that you used?
That book specifically is called Higher Status by Jason Capital. But the specific exercise, which is one of the best ones to do, you can revisit this anytime, is the circle of influence and circle of concern. Basically, it starts off with a minute or 3-minute timer. Write down everything on your mind that you're worried about. Put it on a piece of paper. Don't discriminate. Don't filter. Write it down. It could be like, oh, I thought about the time I stubbed my toe in 4th grade. Like, it could literally be anything. And then at the end of the 3 minutes, what you do is you basically go through and you circle the ones that are 100% directly within your immediate control. And then you cross out everything that's not. And what you'll find is that literally 90% of the time, 90% of the thoughts you have are out of your control, and they're just contributing to anxiety that overwhelms you, freezes you, causes you to decrease in performance, like the whole gambit, man, the whole gambit. I do this all the time because I'm an overthinker, and I have to check myself because it's very easy for my thoughts to run away from me. So it's a really good recentering one.
Well, that's because we both have really bad ADHD, so it's okay. We're high
Apparently.
performers. High performers do. So I will put the next 2 questions real quick. I know this is the recess.
I'll be quick. I promise.
It's okay. It's okay.
Guys, we're going after class. Y'all need some detention time. Come on.
We're getting yelled at by all the teachers now, by the way. It's like, hey,
oh well. Hey, listen, I got a basketball game to finish. I got to toast these guys. Come on.
I love it. All right. That's one place that you would love to visit in the world.
Man, I've been fortunate to travel a lot of places, but I would say I've never been to Europe, and I feel like Europe or South America would be really cool. Just to travel around and see the different cultures. Yeah.
No, that's good. No, that's, hey,
yeah.
Just like your exercise, just what's the first place that comes to mind? That's all. That's good. I love it. In the last question, this was easy, and you won't go too far in depth in this one. Just,
you don't know that.
Well, I could, yeah. No, you probably won't on this one because it has to do with food, unless you're a master chef here. But what is your favorite go-to meal and dessert?
Oh man, fat steak. Give me a fat steak any day of the week, man. I'll eat that 3 times a day. I don't care. Fat steak with like a sweet potato, and then like doesn't really matter the vegetables. But man, yeah, no, I'm a big. And then desserts, easy brownie. Give me a brownie. Give me a nice thick brownie, and I'm good.
Warmed up with vanilla ice cream. That's my favorite.
Oh, so good. I don't know what it is about brownies, man. They just get me.
Now they're good.
Brownies get me, and I get brownies. Just like a spiritual thing, I guess. I don't know.
Well, you know what? You let us back into the classroom, and we're going to religion now. This is great. You did it. You did it so perfectly, Christopher. So, all right, we're done with our basketball game. We had a long OT game. It's all right. We're good.
7-0 champs, back-to-back champs.
So we're going into religion class, and this one, and part of my show, like I told you earlier, is, faith, and we didn't talk fitness yet, but we're going to dive into these last 2 pillars. So just tell me either stories or how your faith has helped you in your life.
Man, again, fortunate to have a mother that really instilled God in our life. My grandmother really did. But then, man, I lived with this lady from when I first went into college, 2016 to like 2018, and her name was Jan. She was actually a missionary to Thailand for like 25 years. She like spoke Thai. She actually gave me my study Reformation Bible, and we started doing weekly Bible study I started doing weekly Bible study, and I thought it was, at first I thought it was corny. I didn't really like it. I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time with her, to be honest. Like I was 18. I didn't really, that wasn't the first thing on my mind. Right. But man, what I can tell you about it is that I realized that, man, my faith at the lowest of lows, the last thing, and my first thing is God has to come first, man. You can ask for anything. And let me just tell you this. I had a really bad breakup in 2020, like legal paperwork to back this up. Like this girl can't come within 100 feet of me. Really bad. And that sent me to like one of the darkest places I've ever been, man. That aftermath of like late 2020 to early 2021, bad. And I can tell you, man, here's the thing that happened. I had been with this girl for like 8 months, whatever, really liked her. And we were going on a trip to Florida in 2020, going to stay. And I said, God, you know, if she's a good woman for me, she's the one for me, show me that. And if she isn't, show me that too. Man, 36 hours later, found her naked in a bed with someone else. Man, I'm gonna be honest with you. As a man, I'm sure that you understand, I almost had a triple homicide on my hands. But the thing that was funny and kind of sadistically poetic and like hilarious and all these emotions was like, I asked God to show me this. And I'm so hard-headed that I didn't take little signs that I knew beforehand. I went into this relationship already knowing God was telling me not to go into these things. So anyway, when people say intuition or whatever, I feel like it's the Holy Spirit. I feel like the Holy Spirit really communicates well with me. I feel like that has been one of my biggest advantages when it comes to talking with people, saying the right things, opportunities. It doesn't matter. God just seems to, like, when there's a person in front of me and it seems like the right time and it seems like the right thing to say, I get this, like, I don't know, it's almost like it just overcomes me and it just is what it is. And so through that really, really dark time, man, it was bad. I was like, this hurts so bad.
Hey, been there, brother. Been there.
Yeah, it was scary too, because like I've read all the books, I've done all the things. I exercise. I even did 75 hard right after that. I was working literally 70 hours a week and doing 75 hard. Jeez. What I was doing is I was trying to kill. I was
you were trying
basically
to kill
killing
yourself
myself.
to
and
recover.
I thought about it, and there were times, and then there were several times where I was like, I would kill myself. Like I got to that point, and I had never in my life thought that I would ever experience that. I know all the tricks, but I can tell you this, that God did not give up on me. And man, it makes me so grateful, because at my lowest of lows, when nobody knew how bad I was having it, man, he came through for me and he spoke to me, and I developed trust. And I realized that he's going to use every situation that's good or bad for the ultimate good, which is why my past, like as messed up as it was, it allows me to be here and maybe talk with somebody else right now. It's a part of it. He was galvanizing me. He was taking a sword, putting it into this fire. But he was doing that. I didn't like it, but he was doing that. And I can tell you that through that experience and through that darkness, I was deep. This song Rattle by Elevation Church or Elevation Worship.
Yeah, it's a good one.
That one was, I listened to that on repeat literally almost nonstop, because I was so friggin' sad, dude. It was so bad. But my faith grew, and what I realized is that, like, I have a lot of trust issues for my life. And one thing that I really had a breakthrough with when it comes to my faith was, and I forget this still, and I've learned it, but I forget it, right? You learn it, you forget it, you have to renew, is I can't trust man the way that I can trust God. I can trust God fully. His ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. I can't 150% trust another human, as good as their intentions might be. Who knows what conflicts of interest going to happen? That's just humanity. It's not personal. It's just humanity. But God, what I realized is that I almost never wanted to come to him in prayer for some of my darker things, because I felt embarrassed and I felt like I should handle it. And I felt like I should be able to do it. Or like, I'm going to almost come to him and he's going to look at me like somebody else who'd be like, well, aren't you Mr. Positive? Yeah. No, that's not how God works. And that really opened me up to to a lot more depth with him, like a lot more depth. And the biggest thing that came out of that situation, which wouldn't have come out of it if I would have been with this girl or not been with God more than I ever had been. One day I was driving back from Christmas, my mother's house. And like I said, my mom, my dad and I really didn't have a very good relationship for years. Like I actually lived with him for 2 years, but it was like when two porcupines come around, it was like,
It's
it was
bad.
it was superficial. It was just nothing. It was like, what's up? See
Yeah.
ya. Don't talk to me.
Yeah.
Right. One day I was coming back from Christmas at my mom's house. I have a half sister. My dad had a fiance. I have a sister. I've seen her like 5 times. Like it is what it is. This lady's crazy. I do not like her. I think that she is really Jezebel spirit. She's really, really not a good person in my opinion. And hey, listen, maybe God will forgive her, but I don't know, whatever. But I came back and he was supposed to go to have Christmas with them, his daughter, my half sister, and you know, whatever. And for whatever reason on my drive back from Christmas, I had the word leadership on my heart so freaking heavy. I don't know what it was. I can't explain it other than God put this on my mind obsessively. I was listening to I don't know. I was listening to a lot of Christian music. I was listening to elevation worship. And I was just obsessively thinking, I was like, leadership, leadership, leadership. What is he having me think about leadership so much for right now? I was like, what is going on? I pulled up, there's a lake not too far, a couple minutes down the road from where we're staying. I was sitting down there and then I went back home and I was just thinking, whatever. And again, I'm still in a dark place myself, dark place.
Yeah.
But I'm down there and I'm just like, why is this on my heart right now? So I mope back into my house and I just get in there and I see him on the couch and I was just confused and I could sense it. And here's what I realized. I had known I had to have a conversation with him about the divorce and what had happened. And I didn't know what it needed to be. I knew I needed to have it. For years, I knew I needed to have it. Since 2017, I went to a seminar and I knew I needed to have a conversation with him, but it was 2020 by the time I had the guts to do it, or it was the right time or whatever, God's timing. I don't know. And I would literally walk downstairs to my house like, brick. I'm like, this is it. I'm like, I know why this is on my heart. This sucks. And I didn't want to do it. I was so nervous. I thought I was going to throw up. I just went upstairs, had kind of a man-to-man conversation. Like, hey, you know, you could have called me and my 2 younger brothers to come and hang out with you if you wanted to. And he was just, you know, all like this, but he was hurt. You know what I mean? I could tell it wasn't like the typical putting on like an asshole face.
Yeah.
It was like, he was really hurt by Lindsay saying, you can't come see us because something's very superficial, like she's manipulative as you can imagine. And I was just like, dude, like, what's the deal?
Yeah.
What's the deal here? I'm like, why are we keeping score? And who are we listening to? What do you think of me? Do you think that me as a 20, 21, 22-year-old man, I'm listening to my mother like the way I was when I was 13, when you thought that she turned us against this whole thing? I'm like, no, screw that. I'm like, you and me need to stop keeping score. There's so much that I could list that I feel like you did to me, and you probably feel like I did something to you. I can't keep score. I don't even know what it is anymore. And I basically was just like, listen, we need to move on from here. Screw what your mother says, my grandmother. Screw what my aunt has to say. Screw what Lindsay has to say. Screw what my mom has to say. This is between me and you. Yeah. And we're moving on from here on out. And I won't say there wasn't a whole lot that had to be said. It was, we just took the armor off and the porcupine quills went down, and our relationship's still not amazing. It's not like I don't talk to him every day. I talk to him every couple weeks or months, really. But I understand now that there seems to be an understanding, and it feels like living there for the 6 months or 7 months after that, it was different. Yeah. And so wrapping this back up to how important is faith, man, faith is everything, because as hard as it is to stay on track, which I'm the last person to preach about staying on track. Like, let me be honest with everybody. However, you can always turn back, and you can always go back, and you can always ask for what you need, and he will give it to you. Want to know another crazy part of one other crazy story I've been working on trading as well. Trading's a complete emotional roller coaster of a learning curve. And I was beaten and I was downtrodden. I had no confidence. I had been on a losing streak. Again, these thoughts of I'm a loser. I dropped out of school. All these things start going like a wind-up toy. Even though I've got a business, even though I'm whatever, I'm 50 pounds heavier than I was when I graduated high school, muscle, like I'm in much better shape. There's things that qualify that those are all just lies.
Yeah.
But I said, God, I really need you to speak to me tonight. I really need you to. And I was going to bed and I said, God, speak to me. I had a dream, dude.
How long ago was this?
This was just maybe 2 months ago, maybe a month and a half ago. I had a dream. Maybe it was a little bit longer. It was between 3 and 1.5 months ago. I had a dream, man. I was in David's shoes killing Goliath, and I cut off his freaking head, and I was standing on his body, literally giving a seminar, almost like I was on stage, and I was holding up his head. And this is the only line that I remember from the whole thing. White hot confidence kills all giants. And for whatever reason, I was thinking like burning deep from your soul, from your solar plexus, like nobody can strip this from me. You can shoot me, you can stab me. I will keep coming. I got this confidence in it. And what I really translate that is it can be superficial, but man, it's confidence in what God has planned for you. And it's confidence in what God is able to do through you. If you just are willing to act in the audacity that you know that. And so faith, man, again, I'm not the one to preach about consistency. I'm working on it. I'm still growing in my faith. However, I will say at the end of the day, it's everything. I mean, literally, what's the point? What else is the point? Money's fine, but if money's not a tool for you to do your purpose, and you're not doing much, you're kind of just another dude who's got the ability to go buy a boat. Like, you haven't done anything.
Well, money could be just living for the world. And I think what I've heard resonate from you, besides just being such a passionate individual and those trials and tribulations that you have occurred in your life and these visions, and you talked about the Holy Spirit, like you have the gift that I have too. It's a gift, and I've heard different ways. I've heard people say like you can't have it, or that some people just have it. But the gift is that you have this, it's almost like an individual is talking to you of you're hearing, maybe not the verbal, but you hear these things in your head, like whether it's a dream, whether it's literally through just being reflective and quiet, and you get a word or a prompting to do something, to take action on that. And what people have to understand is like, I think you can obtain the Holy Spirit speaking to you, but the reason why it doesn't happen with people is, one, they're too busy. Okay. And
that's the biggest, yeah.
That's the biggest thing, right? They're too busy, right? So Christopher, so they think about this. I'm so busy. I'm worried about my money, I'm worried about my job, worried about my family. That's all, that whatever. That's part of life. But what people have to understand is the still small voice occurs when you become quiet and you have all the distractions pushed away, and you could literally just sit there, just like the what you do with your buddy, that circle of influence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The same way through prayer and meditation, it's the same concept, is you have to allow God to speak to you. And the more that you train that, and you use the word consistency of faith, I'm going to tell you this right now. There's not a day since 2015 that I have not woken up without praying first before I leave my house. And that is not, it's a discipline, but it's a relationship that I've built with the Father, because I know I can't do anything the rest of the day without having that conversation and giving honor to Him and asking for protection for myself and my family, because there is such a spiritual warfare going on. Okay.
Oh, it's mad.
So then how can I put on my armor to go outside to the real world without making sure that I'm battle ready? Everyone needs to know that. I need to know that.
That
is true. Psalm 91 should be read every morning before you walk out of your house. Without a doubt, it has to happen, because people don't understand the realm of the spirit is so much more real than us of the flesh. People, it's so concrete for me. And the only reason I know that is because I've been with the Holy Spirit. I've been with Christ. And meaning what I mean by that is I know I felt the heart of what they feel and they put it upon me. You have also have the gift. Okay. Now you have to sharpen your blade, just like you've been forged through these experiences. Now it's time to dig deep with time with the Lord when you rise and when you fall asleep, because those are critical for you're honoring him, but more importantly, for him to be exhausted through you by imitating his ways. You do that, Christopher, on here, because I know I took my little tangent.
No. I'm listen, please, like give me advice.
I'm gonna
Like,
give you the best. I tell you what, I tell my children this.
I already feel like I have a new challenge. I gotta do 30 days of prayer every morning without missing it. I feel like that's gotta be the first thing I do.
You should not wake up out of your bed without being grateful for one thing. The first thing you do is you put your feet on the ground, be thankful for one thing, then go somewhere to your quiet place. It could be just 5 minutes. You can say a prayer, or you can just sit there and just listen. Just listen. Let the Lord lead you. You don't have that to anything. People don't understand this. We're so fast paced, especially living in America, that all these toils, all this stress, all this anxiety, all this money will mean nothing in the end. Zero. What matters most is the relationship you built with your eternal Father and the relationships that you build on this earth daily to imitate him and show people the love that he has for you and for everybody else. That's the mission. That's the mission. And you can do it through your business. You can do it through your business. You know, Jesus didn't come for the one who already saved. He came for the ones that were broken. That's who he came for. Because he died because he loves us. Not because he wanted to shame us. He out of grace that we're saved. So why can't we just take 1 minute or 5 minutes every morning and say, thank you. What can I do? What can I hear from you to go live, not my mission, but your will and your mission for me, to use my gifts to serve others. And you're way ahead of the game, Christopher. You're 24 years old. And I'm going to end our conversation here. Is you have educated so many people today with things that you have gone through and the experiences you've gone through and the stories and relationships you've built. And what my challenge to you is this: keep forging that sword back and forth still on your terms. You're not always going to have control of that, but you can control that. You can push yourself to another level. I'll put it this way. Someone said this a couple of weeks ago, and it's really resonated with me. You're in your own video game. How do you get to the next level? You got to fight bosses. You got to have the challenges. And then once you beat the level, you go to the next. Once you beat that level, you're going to the next level, right? But so many people are on the same level because they're comfortable. They don't want to push themselves. They don't want to learn. They want to be stagnant. And that's not only for the business, it's for every realm, your soul, your body, and your spirit. People have to understand that. You want to go to another level with the Father? You got to spend time with him. You want to go another level with your business? You got to learn more. Is that correct? So seeking wisdom, and we started this whole conversation at the beginning, we're circling way back. Seeking wisdom is the key to unlocking the doors for every single pathway in your life that will lead you to not only eternity, but to save souls, just like that one woman you talked to a year ago. That's powerful.
Yeah, that was definitely. I love what you said about taking 1 minute to be quiet. That is such a difference from what my mind is naturally
mine too
acclimated to. I want to do, but sometimes I like what you just said. and we were talking about this before we started recording, just getting that different perspective, that different reflection. Because I've always thought, get up, pray, whatever, do. It's all me thinking of in a lot of the ways, this is what happens. I usually think about what I should be doing or whatever I should be saying, or it's not a complete surrender. Again, I've just had to grow up and I've got my own issues, and I tend to not like fully
we all
go
do
into
though.
it. But being
Yeah.
quiet, man, that is the easiest way to actually, every time you do that, you do hear from God. Every situation I've ever sat there and just listened, I get a word and it puts me in the direction I need to be going in. And then there's ultimately gold at the end of the road. And it's not what I thought. That's most of the time, it's not what I thought.
Yeah, because you went on your terms, not being led by the Holy Spirit terms. And I'll end here, and I'll let you leave all your information for everybody.
Definitely.
The program I do, 40 Days of Deliverance, was given to me a year ago this weekend. And what I learned about Moses is 40 years he lived in Egypt, and he did things on his terms. Then he was banished. 40 years he was in the desert, and he had to learn quietly how to have humility and to hear from the Lord directly. Okay. And then 40 more years he was a leader, and he never made it to the promised land because of striking the rock, which he was not supposed to do. I know it sounds crazy, but let's think about it.
Supposed to speak to it.
Yes, exactly. But what everyone has to understand is this. We have a journey that we're living in this life, and there's chapters in our life that are going to change. But until you truly just ultimately give it at the table to the Lord and say, you know what, I've been doing it my way for 40 years, maybe 30 years, 50, 60 years. Who knows? I have no idea. But until you ultimately just let it go and say, I give it to you, let me do your will. Let me be focused on what your mission is for me. Your life's not going to change the way you want it to go. So you ever heard the phrase, just let go, literally, just let go. And the more we can be reflective and then become responsive to the word, we have such a more higher impact that we have in our life. And it's not about the money. It's not about even the influence. It's about the fulfillment of your mission in life. And because at the end of the day, Christopher, when I die of the flesh, all I want to hear is, my good and faithful servant. You're serving, and you already have the heart of a servant leader. There's so many things you've said today about your heart of a servant leader, and you're going to go far continuing to have that passion that you do for bringing people joy with your jewelry, bringing people joy, taking them out to dinner, all these little things that you never had when you were growing up. And when you have a wife one day, I might get emotional here. I'm so blessed to have such a beautiful, wonderful woman. And I know one day that's what you want. And I'm sure one day you want your own children. And
I need one of them. Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you you need to pray about it. You need to pray about your future wife. You need to pray about your children. You need to, honestly, every day, just like the pivotal man story I told you, just be still and let the Lord lead. So what I'm trying to say is this, is be thankful for everything you have. Don't take one day for granted. And when you are in the fire of adversity that you will experience again at some point, go back to the Lord. Like you said, God, you said it, not me. God has to come first. And when you put him first and you let go of the control, all right, and you take action from what you learn from him, guess what? That's the best recipe for success and having a righteous and fruitful life. All right. Tell everyone how they can get your products from the Peace of the Sea, get all your social media. So you got the floor, brother.
I appreciate all the kind words, and seriously, it helps a lot to hear what you have to say. And I appreciate your mentorship. So let me just say that first.
Thank you.
You can find all of my products at peaceoftheseakpt.com. PIECE of the sea, SEAKPT.com. You can find Piece of the Sea on Instagram. If you just search Piece of the Sea, it'll be the first one comes up, Golden Anchor. You can find my personals at Christopher. It's CHRXTOPHERR, because the X is like a crisscross. So it's like Chris. I thought I was clever. Turns out, funny side note, didn't know this before I changed the name. That's how Christina Aguilera does hers as well. She has an X in there. So I was like, listen, I'm validated in my decision to use the X as a crisscross. I thought it was clever. Yeah. Now somebody's got 40 million followers does it too. So listen, come at me. But Christopher on all things. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Started getting on TikTok. I got to start. One of my biggest challenges.
Me too.
And again, for anybody listening, one of the hardest things that's going to happen right before you know you're about to make a breakthrough is the attacks get really strong right before you start doing it. So yeah, TikTok, speaking, giving my voice, communicating is definitely where I'm going to be expanding to on there. And I thank you, John, for letting me get onto your platform. I mean, it's a huge responsibility and honor, and I appreciate you doing that. Also, people, go get his book. It's phenomenal book. He did an amazing job doing this first book, man, did a great job. So everybody needs to go support John and go get his book on Amazon. No joke,
man. Kudos to who you are. I really appreciate the shout out for that. I'm just so proud of you. I know we haven't spoken in a while, but I always see your progress through the social media stream. And there's nothing more that I'd love to see is just you being happy and joyful of what you're doing. And I hope you continue that path. I hope I could be a mentor and friend for the rest of my life. And whatever you need, and I mean this when I say this, that I'll do whatever you need, brother. I just want to see you just have a happy life with your future wife and your family. I'll fly out. I'm going to fly out to the East Coast when you get married. Remember that. And I will be more than happy to do whatever I can to help your business. So with that being said, I'm going to say this here, and I don't know why I didn't until now. The Holy Spirit came upon me and convicted me, is I will also advertise for your business as well on my show. Okay.
I appreciate you very much.
I need nothing in return. Zero. All I want, honestly, is to see you continue to spread the good news of how people can come from being broken to beautiful. So it resonates a lot with me and for everybody, I hope, as well. So,
well, I appreciate that, man.
Christopher, I had a great time with you, listening to stories and just educating all of us here. And this class is dismissed.